Hi, Jessica.
Hi there.
I'm happy to be here with you today. Thank you for taking time. You're now CEO of Axoniq and also a board of director. And we work
Mhm.
with Axoniq for such a long time already, and they provide infrastructure for the event sourcing space. Now with way more AI to make it more explainable how you use your data.
Yes.
And there is a rebranding that has been done. You see a new website, a new
Mm.
positioning of the whole brand, and new investments coming in.
Yes, exciting times.
Yeah, you can introduce maybe yourself and who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Jessica Reeves. I'm based in Austin, Texas, and very happy to join the team. It's a brilliant bunch of folks. Um, my background is in open source technology. I spent the last almost 8 years at a company called Anaconda, which is in the Python ecosystem space, but very similar in that there's open source origin, expanding that out of how do enterprises use that, but also how do you really nurture that innovation in the open source community. So excited to be here.
Yeah. How do you see Axoniq now in your position as it was before? Because you can compare those two to a certain degree. Where are you heading with Axoniq?
Yeah, so I always tell the story when I first learned about Axonic and not being heavy in the event sourcing space, I didn't know what it meant. Like,
Mm,
what does event sourcing mean? And as I continued to read and learn about it, I realized how powerful it is in AI and complex systems, right? So it's really, to me, not so much about its event sourcing, it's about the power it unlocks. So it's
mm.
giving the context and almost like the lineage of what is going on inside of your systems and application that then can feed AI and enable AI to make more powerful, more educated decisions. I always say, why would you make a decision based off of your life, based off of the state of it is today and only today,
Yeah.
versus traditional systems do that, versus thinking about your life in full context, which
Yeah.
really matters. And I argue that matters a lot for even applications and systems.
Why do you feel like it matters so much to have more context in a sense of data for enterprises with AI? Because there is so much hype going around with the
Mhm.
AI term and LMs, and everyone is trying to
Yeah.
figure out what is the best thing to do, where I can use it. And it's
Mhm.
the same thing that I thought recently. You overestimate so much what you can do in a year, but underestimate what is possible in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing with AI that is different now from other folks with other perspectives on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crowded space, and I agree with you. There's a lot of hype. Everyone says they're AI. Hey, let's do a chatbot, and we're AI now, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I think what is very unique about us is that we're natively AI, right? We're solving AI problems even before AI was this popular. So I would say that we are not a bolt-on. We are not we get you just started. It is kind of taking you on that holistic journey from beginning to end with what your systems are not only doing, what context they're kind of absorbing to make decisions autonomously. But then it follows that journey of how do we monitor those decisions? How do we observe them? How do we explain them? And how do we get insights based off of not only what the AI did, but also what happened in your application and systems? Exonic, I think now to your point, is not just the gnarly underbelly of
Mm.
all of the event sourcing bits and bytes. We're really trying to basically expose it in a more accessible way.
Yeah.
That yes, at our core, we're event sourcing, and that is what unlocks all of this. But the way that users are going to now be interacting with it, we hope is much easier. That you don't have to be an expert in event sourcing. You now can be anyone interested in developing applications. And we provide that tooling that really helps unlock that, both from getting started developing but then carrying you through the observability piece, monitoring piece, and then getting the insights and analytics piece as well. So
Yeah.
beginning to end. Not many companies kind of do that. Another way I would describe it is AI is talked about a lot, and I would argue in enterprise context specifically, there's kind of three major stages. So one is you have to have prep, right? And you have to be AI ready, okay? So that's all of your systems. Can it handle the load? Does it connect here? Does it connect there? Do we have the compliance pieces of it? Does the AI know where to go to make the decision? So that's the whole readiness piece. Axoniq helps hugely with there, from just the whole concept of event sourcing and having
Right.
that full single source of truth. Step two is actually doing the AI, deploying it, right? And orchestrating what is going on and all of that. We also help with that, right? Of the building and deployment of that. And we do that through some of our new agentic capabilities in a very seamless way that builds this with step one already built in, with all of the plumbing that makes you AI ready built in natively, not a bolt on, natively. And then step three is, what is the AI doing? What can we learn from it? How can we replay it and learn what went well, what didn't go well, from an auditability perspective and governance perspective? So step three is kind of the monitoring observability piece, which we also do really well. So I say our uniqueness isn't, like many companies out there, does one of those three steps really well. We do end to end, step 1, 2, and 3 very well in a cohesive manner, all in one place.
Yeah, in a cohesive manner is said really well, because also with the rebranding and how you now organize yourselves, it's not you have different products anymore. You still have them, but now you're summarize them into the platform, right? So it's the simplicity thing that you already mentioned a couple of times when we talked, I think, weeks ago. So could you describe why the simplicity aspect is so important, even though you have maybe not complex products, but different products for different problems? Why simplify it under one platform?
Yeah. Well, I think a couple of reasons of the why. I think AI is going to lower the barrier of entry for the whole population. Like, I think even younger people will start using AI. I shared the story at the conference that my daughter like asked AI and she thinks it's a person, right? And she's 6. There's going to be folks that are non-technical using AI as well. So that simplicity piece is so important to widen the aperture and invite more people around the table, because AI is going to be here regardless. If we want it, if we don't want it, it's going to be here. So to make it be responsible and to make it have meaningful results, you have to invite more people around the table. And to do that, you have to make it simple for everyone to understand, regardless if you're a top 1% Java architect, if you're a product manager just trying to figure out requirements of how do I articulate this feature functionality to my development team, and if you're a business stakeholder trying to figure out, okay, what does all of this mean? So making it super simple for multiple stakeholders is one of the really important, fundamental like building blocks of the platform. Another piece is, previously when we were selling kind of disparate products, you wouldn't get the benefit of kind of that build.
That's true.
Right? Oh, well, if you do this, then you get the benefit of this, but then you can take it to the next level with, we used to call it console, which is more of that monitoring piece, right? So some of which is new, which is some of the agentic features of I can build an application that is event sourced within minutes, and it's durable backend code that's tested, that you can quite frankly deploy, right? Now that we have unleashed that piece and made it so simple to do that and consolidated all of the other benefits, you can now see that application through the whole journey. So as I said, not only build it, but monitor it and then get insights from the events of which occurred inside of the application itself.
Yeah, this is something that I actually really liked because that you changed that, because in our experience now working with enterprises in the custom software development space, you don't have you never have just one stakeholder deciding on everything,
Yes.
right? So you have the CIO, then the CDO, there is a project manager that is important, someone from the finance side, and so on. So you have at least 4 or 5 people that are decision makers that need to be somehow involved in this whole thing. So just having one of those products going through the whole process to be signed, it's hard enough. But if you combine all of those things, you get more benefits because you can combine those assets actually. And you just have this one way to present to all of them. So you have more in your pocket to show them, right? So
Yes.
I like that. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, you were solving a lot of different problems for different types of stakeholders within a typical enterprise, for sure.
Awesome.
And we're doing it in an authentic way. I'm not like, hey, let's put this on our website that will appease the CIO. No, really, like the auditability and the lineage of a single source of truth, really having like a glass box instead of a black box is really powerful for someone that cares about security. But with that as well, in a very authentic way, CAIO, a chief AI officer, CTO, is really going to care because all of those events are basically feeding your systems or your AI to make better assumptions and better decisions.
CAIO. That's awesome.
CAIO. It's a new term.
Yeah, it's a new term.
Yeah.
Have I heard this? I think I read this somewhere, but I haven't thought through that. But yeah, this makes sense.
It may be a US thing. There's a lot of chief AI officers popping up because as I said, AI is coming whether we want it to or not. I think it's a great thing. It's a exciting thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we need someone that's really thinking about all of that. Not just AI, sexy, cool, let's go do it, but AI in the terms of how ready are we? Will this wreak havoc on our systems? How do we deter that? All of the regulatory pressure that's coming.
Exactly.
All of the market pressure of this should speed you up. The bar has been raised as well. So you really need that person, and maybe it's not called the CAIO, maybe it's someone else like your CTO, but you need someone squarely thinking about that in a real way, not as like an afterthought.
Right.
And we believe we definitely, again, through all of those kind of different problems you're trying to solve to really deploy AI at scale, we do those in an authentic, full way.
Right.
So we're excited about it.
Interesting. So now heading forward with Axoniq, it gets simplified, more streamlined, and very focused also with AI, with a good background and his history actually from the community and from the technical side, right? So this is how I see it. So why do you think sometimes technology or methodologies that are better and better for humanity or for technical purposes or whatever do not prevail? Because for me, at least, the event sourcing thing, but also sometimes the AI stuff beyond the hype, sometimes it's better to use certain things, but they do not prevail in the mainstream. Why do you think sometimes it is like this?
Well, it's interesting. I think I'll counter that a little bit. So one point, and I was very surprised about this, we have over about 70,000 companies and mostly enterprises using our technology, which is born by event sourcing. That is 80% of Fortune 100, 60% of Fortune 500. So I would say it is prevailing, maybe not in a loud way, but it's there. It's there. Now, the reason why it's not showing up in a very like mainstream way, I would say, I think it's the complexity, to be honest. I think it's the complexity. If you only have, say, the 1% of architects that understand the concept in a real, meaningful way, That's only 1%.
Right.
Versus if you simplify and make it more accessible to understand and use, I mean, even if you get 10% more,
Yeah.
I mean, that helps in terms of the prevalence of the technology itself. So I go back to simplicity as
Yeah.
kind of an accessibility, maybe is a better word for it.
Is the complexity part, because it's not like, you mean it's not from the technical side of things, because it's not like you need to learn a new language or stuff like this. It's just a different way of thinking about certain things, how you save data and store it and use it. But is it how you communicate all those things where the complexity lies, or where do you see the complexity?
I think a lot of it is, and I think it depends on who you ask, right? Like if I ask the architect, is this complex? They're obviously going to say, no, I completely get it.
Yeah.
Now, if
Yeah.
you ask a mid-level type engineer, likely they're going to be like, I don't know, because I didn't learn that in school or my first or second job.
Exactly.
So I think one part you hit on the head is it's a different way of thinking about it. Even
Yeah.
if it's better, and I hate the word better because better is a judgment,
Yeah.
right? Who gets to say it's better?
Right.
But it's different. And I think there's that just from a human level aspect of people tend to like what they're used to and comfortable with. So I think because some of the traditional paradigm of system design is taught in schools, right? Like if you look at the number of curriculum that teaches more traditional versus event source, I mean, it's vastly different. And it starts there of the whole paradigm of what you're used to and what you know to be true. And if all we're talking about and teaching young technologists is the traditional way,
Right.
then of course it's going to just take time. So I think that the accessibility of the technology will greatly help.
Right.
But I also think AI will almost force the technology and really just event sourcing in general
Yes.
to the forefront in that it solves so many of the problems. I think it's just a natural fit into context, real time, scalability. All of that is solved with event sourcing.
Yeah.
And we were doing that with highly distributed complex systems before.
Yeah.
And AI is just, an encore to that, right?
And everything actually starts with data, as you mentioned, and
Yes.
crap in, crap out is still something that is said often with AI.
Yes.
And data is still gold, and we should take this seriously, how we store and handle data in enterprises.
Yep.
So I'm completely on your side on this, which makes sense to me. Awesome. One question I have to you is because the Axoniq team and Axoniq itself is based from the Netherlands, also in different parts of the world, but now also in the US. You're in the US, in Austin, right?
Yes.
So how is it to scale this company and to expand it to the US from a European-based company? So are there some hindrances that you have expected or not expected? How is it for you?
Yeah, so I've worked with global companies pretty much all my career. So it's not anything new. And I think it's actually I think it's beautiful in that you get different cultures, you get different perspectives of how the world works. I think that I notice it the most in go-to-market, to be honest, of how the US culture thinks about go-to-market and the European culture. And I don't want to stir up any of your audience of what I'm seeing, but I do see differences. And I think that there's benefits of both kind of thought processes around that. So I think that in the day and age of AI, of digital native companies and tools, I mean, you're sitting in Austria, I'm sitting in Texas. Yes, we've met each other, but I would bet that we would even connect even if we didn't meet each other. So I think from building a distributed team, just in general, you need to make sure that like over communicate is like the biggest thing, because you think you say it once, but scientifically, I think it's like 7 times you have to say something before it starts like becoming muscle memory to folks.
Right.
So with that said, I think that building out the team has been easy in a way of course, that's just the evolution. And to be fair, Axoniq had US people before I joined. It's
True.
just widening that a little bit more. But I think, the obvious challenge that technology won't solve, like we're on different time zones, of course it's tough. But I think it goes back to communication of how much can we do of this asynchronously, right? So we're not putting anyone out. You can get your best self and thoughts at the time of day that you're at. Put it in a doc or Jira or Miro board or what have you. And then I think the goal is that you have those touch points continuously and consistently that you come together and you talk about those. So I think it's just like this hybrid approach of, no, we don't want to sit in meetings all day, nor is that possible with time zone.
Right.
But also not at the other end of the spectrum where we just communicate in Slack and Google Docs and that's it. Like it has to be a hybrid.
Right.
But I think super talented people everywhere globally. And I'm proud to be at a company that values that and doesn't box us into like, you are only allowed to grow in this part of the world. Because that would be a disservice to event sourcing in whole, technology in whole, I'd say.
And also customers from different regions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe the last question I have, because you have this cultural thing that you mentioned. So I guess also the enterprises are different in Europe, in China, in the US, in Australia, and so on. So what do you think? Because now we're in Europe, you're in the US. So just taking those two, what are the needs maybe from enterprises you try to meet, and where are they different? Because I think European enterprises are more like, okay, they're maybe a bit slower on an innovation part and not just heading forwards, and the risk aspect has way more, it's just more prevalent. And in the US, it's different. It's way more, okay, let's jump into it. But it's not always the case. I'm simplifying, of course, or do it like
Yeah,
it.
of
But
course.
what do you think are the differences, what you provide, and what matches those different types of companies?
Well, that's a great point, and I agree with your thesis there. Couple things. One, most enterprises have global touch points everywhere. So I think even the enterprises today are global, and that we're bridging some of those gaps of like, you're a European company or you're a US company. Now, I do believe you lean one way depending on where you're headquartered are and where your critical mass is, obviously. But that's also the beauty of Axoniq and the new platform is that we can meet you where you are. So if you're an enterprise that's like, risk is secondary to us, we just need to go. Great. We have tools that lets you just go, right? And that's the development agent. That's the prompt in what you want to do, and we will help you right off the bat in minutes. This is the backend code that has event sourcing natively in it, and go for it. And then you can build and iterate on top of that, right? There's also a gallery of folks' projects from the community that you can riff off of like, ooh, I really like Sebastian's bike rental application. I'm going to use that to build this piece of my application. So there's room for those that just want to dive in. There's also room for those that, or companies, and I would argue there's multiple personas in a company, right?
Right, that's true.
People that want to dive in, people that want to take it slower. The folks that are a little bit more risk first and then jump in, I think event sourcing is a beautiful kind of, I don't want to say safety net, but almost isn't that you have the full lineage of what is going on, right? So we provide that AI readiness kind of out of the box. But maybe you don't jump in and just start developing on our development agent. Maybe you take it slower, you download our software and are doing it more so in a traditional manner of the software development cycle. And now maybe you're leaning more so on our monitoring modules, right?
Yeah.
And our GDPR modules. So there's so much of it that we're solving problems that are different by
Right.
stakeholder, but I think you don't have to start at step one. The beauty of the platform as well is you can use what you want, and the other pieces aren't blocking the usage of the other
True.
functionality in the
Yeah.
software. So if you care about compliance, or if you care about, I just want to know about the insights from my event store, you can go straight there. You don't have to build an app. Plug in your existing app in event store to all of our platform, and you can just go to town on the analytics side. So I think it hits a lot of places in what you can do with it. I think it's Axoniq's responsibility to kind of hold the hand of like, okay, what do you care about? What do you want to do? And kind of nudge people to those places in the platform. So it's super accessible and simple to get to right where you need, when you want it, and what you want
Awesome.
at the
Thank you
time
very
you want
much.
it. too.
Thanks, Jessica. We stay in this call for maybe about 5 minutes to just reflect on what we talked about. But
Great.
thank you very much for taking time, and have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me, and it was fun.